Good evening. I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and this is Street Talk. I want to thank you for allowing me into your home again. We've been very, very busy. Okay, I got a great guest tonight, and I'll get to my guest. And across from me, sitting me, staring in my eye, is mean and lean Dominic Cotton, the spear of Street Talk that gets up there and harasses every legislature in the state of Connecticut for us. Thank you, Dominic. He's across from me, but I'm not going to tell you who my guest is yet. I need to say hello, okay, to my new staff person that's taking care of Darren. Actually, my daughter's staff person, who I found out has been watching me for years. Tracy, how are you? We want to say hello to you. She's been with me about a month and a half, dealing with Darren, and this is really something interesting. She's a wonderful lady, great person, great to deal with Darren. She's sitting on the couch, and Darren and we're watching TV about a week ago, and Bobby turns to me and says, Who's going to be on the TV show tonight, Father? And she turned, she said, Father Russ! She said, Street Talk! I said, yeah, who do you think? She said, oh, she's been with me a month and didn't know who I was. So, okay, I had to tell that on you, Trace. Okay, I also got tonight, I got to thank Mary Jane, our God in the sky, who always corrects us and takes care of us and everything else. We love you, Mary Jane, and without you and all the work you do, Father wouldn't be here, okay? So I need to say thank you to you. You've been such a great person. Also, I want to say hello, Jennifer Mitchell. We love you. We're praying for you. We love your mother, too, even though she gives me a lot of trouble. The one last person, Dee, she's at Mr. G's, okay? Dee, we'll be seeing you tonight with Darren and Bobby, and hang on to our table, okay? So with that, I gotta say, the greatest thing in the world happened. As a Democrat, we are the party in all history that now has the presumptive nominee, a woman, finally. Of course, we were long behind India and Israel and everything else, but we're working that way. And Orange Head, we're coming after your scalp. Elizabeth Warren is leading my tribe, and we're going to cut that hair right off your head. Now with that, because I'm such a wonderful Democrat, the Democrat I love, but I'm in a district I can't vote for him. He's such a nice guy. He was a representative. He didn't listen to me. He did not listen to me. Almost like you, Mr. Passero, except you had the troops here, okay? He's not a nasty politician, and that's his problem. And he's going to go up against a tough lady who can be very nasty. Anybody who hangs around with Boulder, you got to be nasty. He's going up against Heather Summer. And Tim, that's you, Tim Bowles. Well, bless you.
I need it. Okay. And thanks for that introduction. That certainly sets me up, but that's, thank you. Thank you so much, both of you, for the invitation.
You
Absolutely.
know, you've been so loyal, okay? I need to tell a story about loyalty. Loyalty to me is one of the most important things that can happen to you. We had a vote several years ago that was going on, and Tim was a new representative then. Okay, heavy politics. We had our troops up there. We had hundreds of people up there. We were trying to get ABI stuff passed, and there was a judicial vote, and I kind of knew what the reason was behind we were going to lose, but there wasn't a way I could explain to our people. They just didn't understand. Okay, but they were having the vote, and their caucus went in, and our Democrats were voting basically against what we were doing. I said, and this man sitting beside me, his first term, came out and said, no, I'm going to vote your way, which would have been against the party because of his loyalty. And I don't even know if you remember. I said to Tim, no, don't do that. You can't do that. We come back and we fight another day. Because he was new up there and stuff like that. And that's what you got to do. That's what politics is about. But he was worried about his loyalty to us over his political career. So, Tim, I just need to tell that story about you. Okay?
I appreciate that.
Because obviously you're loyal first, and I know that and stuff like that. But you were just a young politician then.
I wasn't that young. It wasn't that long ago. I call myself
you like that?
a Rodney Dangerfield freshman. You know, I've been around the block a little bit, but I did get some respect, unlike Rodney, and appreciated that. But they told me as a freshman representative that I shouldn't talk. You don't open your mouth, for the first 2 years. And I told him, no, I'm up here. No, I'm up here. I've been around. I know the issues, and I did not hesitate on any number of issues, whether they be environmental or on human service issues or on, the whole thing with what you guys have been fighting for so strongly. And I just have to say this to both of you. And you have been tremendous champions for your community. And I just love the work that you do. I love your passion. I love your successes. It's too bad that there have been some setbacks here lately with the state budget, et cetera. But I think the passion of your community, of the people that you're working for and fighting for, is a model for all of us in terms of what we should be about as human beings, never mind Democrats.
Dominic is the head of the spear, and I say that all the time. Some people think he's alone. He's not a lone stranger. We've been doing this for a long time. He's got a lot of people behind him. He does not go into a fight without understanding what's going on. He's done the research.
Right.
He's crossed the T's, dotted the I. And he goes in there and he pounds away. Different than crazy me, being that far left Bernie Sanders voter, that'll go to the war with him until, and then vote for Hillary. But Dominic's got a great way of bringing, because we're always looking for common ground. He's got a way of communicating that to the other side of the aisle. And I got so many friends on the other side of the aisle I would not have unless he had gone out and did the groundwork to bring him in.
Well, I can tell you what I miss. And this is what I missed from the last 2 years. I miss having somebody who knows the inside issues when it comes to working with the Department of Social Services and could be on the inside explaining to the people in the caucus, okay, this is the reality of the situation. Because you know what? This is what you bring to the table. You know this stuff. Mm-hmm. You've been involved in this stuff. And this is what we've missed over the last couple of years. I mean, we've had a lot of great people that have come around and I know was stuck up for us in the caucus.
A lot of wonderful people,
and
done
a lot.
Don't know the
but
inside.
They don't know the inside track of what's going on.
You're up against a tough competitor. We know with Heather Summers. I had her on there and stuff. She's a tough lady to deal with, but she doesn't have the insight that you have on our issues. She may, I don't know what, I don't like the thing with Foley, and I think I'd be digging at a loyalty issue there, just to say from my political perspective. But I know but from our issues, you know the disability stuff, you know the justice stuff, you know what the marginalized people go through, and you were, I got a little, I wanted to throw mud, and you don't like that, because that was so close, your election was so close, and stuff like that, and you had far more experience than the other person, and I thought, and I'm so happy, obviously I lose Senator Maynard, and I know, and I love Andy.
Yeah,
you know my
absolutely.
stuff.
We've talked about Andy on this show.
I love Andy.
Yeah.
And you're going in there and taking Andy's seat. And what a team we have in our area, I mean, I love that Michael Passero made the mayor thing, I mean, I actually like Paul. Famika is on the other side. I like Paul. I respect Paul a lot. But I like Kathy Osteen. I love Kathy. I always have. She's a worker out there. She's a veteran. She's all about our issues. Same thing. And she understands. So, and you guys are neighbors.
Kathy's the hardest working legislator I have ever been exposed to, you know, in my life as a legislator and even previously. She works awfully hard and she does an incredible job. She's been very supportive of this campaign and I really appreciate it. I consider her to be my mentor in terms of a state Senate race. This is a different animal, bigger animal than the House of Representatives. Right. But I have nothing but respect and admiration for Kathy Austin. Yeah. So, but this is going to be a tough race, and I am not taking this challenge lightly. I'm doing this, and as you've suggested, I have. You know, well over 30 years of experience working with not only the state, but going back to my days in municipal government, being a selectman in the town of Preston. And one of the things that I just want to share briefly is that I took a pay cut back in 1980. I was making $12,000 as a school bus coordinator up in the town of Preston. And I had my degree and everything. And somebody came, and one of my bus drivers came in and said, "You want to do this all your life? Don't you want to, really kind of challenge yourself?" So I took a pay cut from $12,000 to $10,000 a year to go ahead and work as a psychiatric aide up at the Norwich State Hospital. Doing second and third shifts up there, doing group therapy with lobotomy patients, doing a whole lot of things, working in the detox unit, and moved on to be a social worker, working with the elderly. For a number of years, working and actually going into nursing homes and finding people that wanted to come back home with enough community supports at cost savings to the state. Became a social worker with the Department of Children and Families, was a treatment worker working with foster, mostly adolescent males, transitioning from teenagers to young adults, and then becoming an investigator with the Department of Children and Families. Moving on, became involved with the Office of Policy and Management as a planning analyst, working on energy issues. And ultimately, in my last 6 years, worked with the Department of Social Services, where I gained some incredible insights that I did not have before, being a direct staff worker, working with clients, to becoming aware of some of the policy and other fiscal decisions that the state of Connecticut has made. And as both of you know, it's not an easy system to understand. It's very complicated. The whole Medicaid complex is incredibly complicated in so many ways, but I do bring that experience, and that's one of the things that I will be talking about during this campaign.
And when you're in the Senate, I mean, it's guaranteed. You are chair of a committee.
Yeah.
So you need that level of experience to be able to push forward with the issues that the state's facing.
Yeah. No, and even as a freshman, legislator in the House of Representatives, I managed to get all three committee assignments that I wanted in three different areas that I really care about. One was energy and technology, really being an advocate as a former chair of the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund for renewable and sustainable energy policies in the state. I was also involved in the Environment Committee as a past chair of the Connecticut chapter of the Sierra Club. The whole issue with fracking and with again, all of those kinds of things. And then being a member of the Human Service Committee, I could bring my background in a whole number of areas to bear on that. So I was able to talk to the issues. I was able, and even more importantly, I was able to listen with an informed mind about what was the question. You both are great examples of people that brought, and as his father has said, Dominic, you did your research. So when you talked about things, I understood what you were talking about because I understood the context in which you were talking about.
It was so, I mean, it was so important, and as a freshman person up there, your insight was absolutely critical to us and others. We had friends up there, and we knew we had, but they didn't understand the complexities of what we were talking about. And it took, I know it took people talking to you, trying to understand what was going on. And again, I mean, anybody who knows what we've done and everything else. And what I say, Dominic's research. I get everybody saying, "Where'd you get him? Where'd you get him?" I say, "Stay away from him, because I don't pay him. Okay, we don't make no money, and I don't want you stealing Dominic." I said, because it is essential to anybody to understand the complexities of what we're talking about. His long service himself, I want him to run for Senate, but his wife had killed me.
That was my April Fool's joke.
Right,
I posted up that I finally gave in, and that I was going to run for rep in my area.
That was bam. That was,
I had Jeff Luxembourg calling me within 30 seconds of me posting that up, going, "I can do fundraising for you." I'm like,
you go.
whoa,
There you go.
stop. This is an April Fool's joke.
I told people, you go near him, you're gonna put me back in my old career. I said, you leave him alone. I said, you don't know the work. You don't know the work that he does.
Yeah.
Okay, and the nights and the volunteer work. Okay, no money, transportation, everything else. Dominic is monumental to what we're doing and the advocacy group that's behind him. And I make sure I tell people he's never alone. He may sometimes sound like he's alone, but he's not alone.
No.
He's got a force behind him, and you know we've shut the governor's phones off a couple of times, so they know. So
We've gotten in front of him, made it look stupid
yes, you
a
did.
couple of times.
Couple of times.
Yeah.
No, I saw you guys at work up at the Capitol, and you have a team of people, and you have a people. I mean, you know, the most amazing thing to me are people that have been impacted by the system. You're the people that you work for, the people that you're working on behalf of, and for them to come up and testify at legislative committees that I've been in, Human Services, is the most powerful thing that anybody can do.
Well, we have, as you know, we have someone right outside, my care person. He wanted to come tonight. He said, "Who's?" I said, "Tim."
Yeah.
Tim that worked on the stuff with me. He said, "Can I come with you?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." Bobby's what you said out there and stuff like that. I mean, it really, when you're doing advocacy and people, you want. I mean, that's that's what we do. You know, and. I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know about anybody else.
But that's what makes you such a powerful advocacy group, and I think you've done a fantastic job. It's too bad that we're dealing with all the economic and budget issues that we're dealing with right now.
I want to go insane.
Yeah.
98 people. 90. I think it was 98, and it was laid off when my union notice come in. And I went, "You've got to be kidding me." We were just on a TV show yesterday morning talking with Sean Ronan, okay, about, you know, all these areas that he just cut. I said, you know, enough is enough. I mean, I'm a Democrat, but guess what? You know, I'm an independent thinker, and I'm going to vote for the man. And this guy better hope he's going to Washington, and I hope Nancy is going to run. Yeah. That's what I hope. Yeah. Okay, because Nancy, that's a different animal. But she's working for this guy, and he's the one sawing off the legs of the horse and everything else like that.
I find it interesting sometimes. It's like a train that goes off, and once he's on one set of rails, it's like they're going to throw it off on full steam until it just goes through. I mean, I'm dealing with one of the regional centers for DDS with a friend of mine, and you know, we understand the consolidation piece.
Right.
You know what? State, you have people off in different areas, and our biggest issue is there's some health and safety things that are going on at one of their facilities that they want to keep open. Yeah. You know what? I met with the DDS commissioner. We brought off all this stuff, and she was like, "Oh no, everything's fine." Yeah. You know, we went up to the Capitol the other day, and we sat down with one of his legal assistants, and you know, we're rattling off all this stuff. We asked them for permits on these things. We asked them, we have to sign like a Freedom of Information Act because somebody actually called OSHA on them because they removed mold from one of the places where they're going to put residents. Yeah. and we don't think it was remediated properly because they're having the maintenance staff do it instead of having people who are professionals
Yeah,
do it.
qualified for.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're putting at risk
Absolutely.
people. But you know what? It's like, damn the torpedoes. We're going full speed ahead. We're not going to take a look at this. This is the decision that we've already made.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they make the decision in a vacuum. And that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
All these
with
decisions.
unqualified people, that's
Right.
the problem. He's got a bunch of clowns up there that should be fired, making $100 grand, $150 grand a year. He's got them in all departments, DSS, got them in education, overloaded with people that, they would be gone, okay, because they're not qualified. You, and of course I was there with a bunch of people, on the opposite side of a table with 9 people, all getting big bucks, and they couldn't answer your questions. And Brumby was sitting right beside me, and he was sick. And if it was me and I was in charge of those 9 people, they would have got their pink slips after we left the thing. I would have fired every one of them. They were all
and
wrong.
he doesn't even have orange hair. He
They
gets a
were-
red face.
They were all wrong. And that is a horror. I mean, that is when you know that your top people in the state of Connecticut, we're talking administrators, are unqualified, getting a huge amount of money,
Yeah.
okay, and don't know what they're talking about. That's scary.
But that's why we have to really change the system.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, systemic changes and structural changes in state government. We've got to not only talk about it, we've got to do
You
it.
got to do something.
And we've got to do it. And one of the things that I'm talking about, and a major theme of my campaign, and a major platform plank of my campaign, is let's start with the legislature. I am proposing, and I'm doing it on this show, and I will continue to do it. There was an op-ed piece, or I guess column piece in the New London Day a couple of Sundays ago, is that we take a look, and I'm calling for a legislative commission of both parties, both chambers, to take a look at amending the Constitution of the state of Connecticut, which has not, in Article 3, which has not been amended since 1970, almost 50 years ago,
50 years, wow.
and reduce the number of legislators that we have in the House of Representatives from 151 to 108. That's a 30% reduction. Before laying off all these line workers and all these people, this teacher that's teaching GED down at York Prison to female inmates down there, is let's begin with the legislature itself. Let's set an example and a model for us. And so I'm proposing that we do that. Then you would have 3 state representatives for each state Senate district. You have a much more cohesive group, a team of people representing a particular geographical area.
Right.
When I was a rep, you know, in Montville, for instance, we had 2 state senators and 3 state representatives. It's ridiculous. There was no cohesion. There was no, you know, we got along fine and everything like that, but that was a little bit too much. The other thing that I'm proposing that I feel very strongly about, and I know there's a lot of pushback on this, but I believe strongly that the political environment is such right now that I am advocating for term limits. And I know it's controversial, but what I'm looking at is extending the terms from 2 years to 4 years. You know, this is nonsense that every 2 years we're spending all this money, that you have politicians constantly begging people for contributions to their campaign, and then get in there for 2 years, and like me, you know, they may survive or not. It's not enough time to go ahead and really establish yourself. So what I'm proposing now is 3 4-year terms. And if you cannot get the job done in 12 years, then you either move up if you can, or move out. Get them. So that's and what I talk about a legislative commission is let's talk about all of these issues. Let's talk about how it's such an archaic Byzantine system that we're operating under. And in the meantime, the executive branch, we've been talking about lean strategies in terms of how you do things smart. We don't do that in the state legislature, and I know that from 2 years of being up there in Hartford.
I know. I happen to agree with term limits myself. I don't think politics was ever meant to be a career type of situation. And I believe that you have to have the time to do what you want. So, and 2 years isn't enough.
Yeah.
I believe in the 4-year term, exactly what you're talking about. I've always believed in that, and that's where it should be. And if you can't do it, again, if you can't get your troops together, in a 12-year period to take, you're right. You need to go back and, get back on the farm and grow potatoes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Well,
Raise
and
alpacas.
I think that's
Yeah.
that's something
Well,
that
okay.
the leadership. I mean, I know in the House of Representatives, you do 2 terms
Yeah,
as Speaker of the House.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Good
that's
example.
That's it.
that's a good example of
Exactly,
the
yeah, it really is.
situation.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't get your feet entrenched in the, I mean, we got a lot of stuff. I mean, that's why I voted for Bernie. Not only did I know Bernie since the 70s and his work in the 70s and stuff like that, and people I can't believe it, who knew Bernie? Well, anybody from New England knew Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
and what he stood for and everything else.
I
like
lived up
that.
in Vermont.
And so,
yeah,
Vermont,
yeah.
you know, and he's loved.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's dedicated. He's all about the people. He's all about.
Yeah.
That's what he's about. But his change and what his direction, they wonder how this movement happened. Well, guess what? Everybody's pissed off, and then you got Orange Head on the other side, a disgusting, bigoted racist. I mean, I just can't believe that this guy, I never did from the beginning. I've known him a long time too, his whole career.
Yeah.
And from other reasons, when I was a gangster and his thug and his stuff with the casinos and all his corruption shit, I knew all about that. His rape charge, his wife against his wife. He's a slug, and they're trying to make him some kind of hero. It's disgusting. It's the Republicans got a real problem. Now, I love my Republican people here.
Yes.
They're a different.
Mhm.
Okay?
It's a different breed.
It's
It
a
is. It's
different
different,
breed.
yeah.
Okay.
It's,
I mean,
yeah.
I worked for 2 Republican governors, Symington and Sargent. Okay. I loved them. I loved the Sargents. They were about poor people and stuff like that. But it's about the people. It's about the person when you're going out, and that's of course. Yeah, I can't vote for you, but obviously we're going to get out the guns that we have over in your area, and because we know you're an honorable, loyal person that's about your convictions, and you got the experience. You're the kind of person that we need up there, okay, as we know from experience, our own experience.
And I appreciate that. And what I keep on saying to people, this is not about me. This is not about Tim Bowles. This is not about me creating, a second career for myself up in Hartford. It's hard work. I'm not enamored by the campaigning process. This could very well turn out, as you suggested, Father, that this could be a very ugly campaign. I do not look forward to that. I will continue to try to take the high road, as much as possible. But I'm going to fight to win this seat for not only just for Andy, but for the constituents in the 18th state Senate district.
Well, we got a great constituency.
Yeah,
Andy's
absolutely.
work. I don't want nothing to happen to Andy's work.
Yeah.
He brought all that stuff here. A lot
Right.
of people don't know the water stuff.
Yeah.
All that. Okay, he worked diligently on the stuff that's coming down.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know what's coming.
Right.
Okay, they don't know about the waterway stuff. Andy's work was unbelievable. I mean, and he knew the finances. He knew,
Yeah.
knew all. I mean, with that stuff. And Catherine, same thing. A lot of work there.
Yeah.
They did it together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, that's why I watch you.
Yeah.
Because you were on the heels of that stuff, and right there.
Andy was a tremendous supporter for
Uh-huh.
the town of Preston. We were able to get $5 million, Andy and I, when I was a state
Yeah,
representative, to really put a big dent in cleaning up the Norwich State Hospital property. And now with this new agreement between the Mohegan tribe and the town of Preston,
that's gonna be
I think
awesome.
it's between that and what Joe Courtney has done with Electric
Yeah,
Boat.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
talked to
yeah,
one of
right.
the managers over there, a good friend of mine, a good Republican friend, won't name his name, but they're booming there.
Yeah.
We finally in southeastern Connecticut have the opportunity to turn a corner. And I think that's
Exactly
huge.
right.
I think that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't for a long time.
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Uncle Joe, I'm sorry, I sometimes forget you're out there. Joe Courtney.
Oh, yes.
I love you, Joe. You know
Joe,
that.
he's always
he's fabulous. Okay. It's fine. I don't have him on. I could have him on, but you know, poor Joe. I love Joe, and of course I loved Rod before he, you know, before Joe took his seat. Great guys. Care about the community. They're about caring about the Joe. Joe is always about it, and what he has worked so hard with that, and bringing all that stuff, the money for the train thing and all that stuff here. But a lot of people just don't, you know, they're not civically involved enough to really understand. Right. They're tied into their little local stuff. And we know, and you know, that it's not just your little town and everything. This expands. All this stuff expands to a whole region and stuff like that, statewide. And as far as like the train stuff, you're talking about New England. Right. Okay, transportation, economically helping stuff and everything else. It's, you know.
And I think rural and obviously, you know, suburban, I mean, right at the moment, like with some of the issues that we're having are the same as what the urban communities are facing, especially like opioid, you know, and the heroin issues that are going on. And, you know, I mean, I think that's why you and I like look at each other. Why do you cut, you know, Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services?
In the midst of an epidemic.
You know?
Right, in the midst of people dying in the streets.
And I think there are other approaches to take. I mean, outside of the legislative branch, I'm not going to touch the judicial branch because I have no experience there really of any substance. But I think the executive branch, one of the things that I believe strongly in, and I witnessed, and you guys have witnessed, is the siloed effect. We have, you know, there are too many departments that really do not work well together. There's some exceptions. I think the partnership with DEMIS and DSS and DCF around, you know, some of the kid care policies and things that they've generated is good. But I think we can do far more to create a much more cohesive way of addressing things. We treat people based on their symptoms. Okay, you're labeled with this particular label, and therefore this agency is going to come in and help you. And yet you have within your family, you have you know a couple daughters, you know, son, you have somebody that have entirely different issues. Why do you have to shop around to all these different agencies? Why do you have to why do we make it so hard to navigate the system for our clients? I had a tough time. And I have a master's in child welfare. I have all the background that I have as a social worker with the Department of Children and Families and Department of Social Services. I had a tough time navigating the system. So if somebody, you know, my wife and I were therapeutic foster parents for a couple of years, you know, for us to get the services for the kids that we had in our house was not an easy task. So think of people that have no real idea, you know, no real clue about where to seek help. You guys, I mean, that's your job. That's what you guys do. That's what you guys do. You know.
Yeah, and then we lose some. I mean, that's the tragedy of doing what we do. Is the ones we lose, and you know that's tough. You going to say something there?
No, I was going to say, you know, I know for myself, I mean, I have a great senator, Senator Schlossberg, down in my district. Yeah. You know what?
She's good people.
And she's on the education committee. She's chair of it. We're having some issues with my son and his 504 plan and getting the city to understand that.
And I'm so glad about the news with Mikey. So
he's doing much better.
Doing good.
But you know what? I know I can call up her. Yeah. And right away, she understands exactly what's going on and what's needed to be able to help in that situation.
Right.
If you don't have that broad expanse, because that's what you deal with. You deal with a lot of constituent issues. You know, when you're you know, a senator, you're going to be on the phone like a lot of evenings helping people find their way through the system. You have to know the system in order to be able to help with that.
Well, you imagine that we sit here and we do this show and everything else like that, and the amount of people, almost every person that we put down in this hot seat has some family member that has problems and difficulties and stuff like that. I mean, we bat almost 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, now it may be different than the stuff that we're dealing with, but it's still in the disability community, and we had with Sean just, yes, and that's the reality. Well, almost all families have somebody that's in difficulty. So you would think that the governor would understand that these are areas that you've got to be real careful when you're fooling around with them.
Yeah, my fear is that the cuts are so deep that it's going to, I don't know how we recover from that without really, I think it's critical for us to come together as a community. You talked about the 9 people that were, with you, we're too top heavy. We have too many administrators. There are too many people. And I am a big believer. After I retired from the state government, I spent the next few years, I think 4 years, working as the coordinator and consultant to the Southeastern System of Care Collaborative, which dealt with the families and children and young adults in Southeastern Connecticut. But what we did is bring together the state agencies, they have to be a partner, bringing together the nonprofits, they are a very critical piece of this, and bringing together, more importantly, the consumers, the families themselves, and the voices of, actually we had a youth advisory committee that they met separately. They would advise. We have to work in collaboration. It cannot be a top-down system because it doesn't work.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work.
And not if you want to really solve the problems and stuff like that. Well, I've known it, obviously, 50 years in justice, 50 years dealing with prison, 50 years developing programs. If you don't have the convicts, the prisoners, and the community involved with your programming, you're dead meat.
Yeah.
You're dead. You need to have the people that know that are on the firing line and stuff like that. We know as trainers in our day-to-day work, aside from everything else, you got clowns making rules that have no idea what we go through in the daily, with the different clients we have.
Right.
There is no cookie cutter. You can't say, oh, this program works for all traumatic brain injury people. No, it don't.
Right.
No, it's individual and stuff like that. You can't have somebody come into a house and saying you got to do this, this, and that, because it might not totally relate to your service person that you got there.
Right.
That person might want this, this, and this. Okay.
Right.
But but when you're talking to people who have no clue, I mean, my face gets red.
And that's why bureaucrats have such a bad name, because they create their job, their mission in life is to create bureaucracies, and bureaucracies in of themselves don't solve anything.
They don't solve
It's people reaching out to people caring about each other in whatever role they have, whether you're a politician or you're an advocate or you're working on with the clients themselves. It's and that's why I was saying this election is not about me. It's not about my career or anything. It's collectively about us, and I think that was part of the beauty of Bernie Sanders' message. It's also why 16 years ago I ran for the same seat as a Green Party candidate with Ralph Nader. I had the pleasure, and one of the highlights of my political career was introducing Ralph Nader at Connecticut College. I was able to be at a fundraiser with Winona LaDuke, who was his vice presidential candidate down in Mystic. He spoke at that time about, and I left the Democratic Party because I was really disappointed in some of the leadership at that time, and I believed in what Ralph was saying. The thing, though, that's different 16 years ago, Ralph was saying that there was no difference between the two parties, that there was essentially they were all bought and sold by corporate powers. This year, there is a big difference between the two parties. Big difference between the two parties.
I followed Hillary's career since Wellesley, Newton Wellesley, when she was there. Her thesis was an Alinsky thesis. A lot of people don't know who Saul Alinsky is. I was trained by Alinsky as a Teamster. Senator Bernie Sanders, Alinsky student. Obama, it's about community organizing and putting people together. They changed what he was really about. He was about getting things done, moving the community to solve your problem, okay? Papa left, he was, but all these people, she come up and right from the beginning, healthcare, kids, all that stuff. People don't realize what she went through. I mean, this lady that we're gonna, obviously Democrats, hopefully we're gonna put into the presidency, has an unbelievable background of street, of service, of anything. A lot baggage? Yeah, she got crap because she's a politician.
Yeah.
Because she chose to go that way.
Right.
Bernie has been saying the same damn thing for
Yeah.
all his life.
Absolutely.
And all his life.
Yeah.
He's been saying the same damn thing.
It's like bell-bottom jeans. Sooner or later, they're going to come back
They
around.
come back around, right? But you know what? People have seen, he's gonna, I know the man. He's gonna unite. He's gonna come over and he's gonna try and convince these young people that they gotta understand that this is what it takes to change things. This is what it takes to get health care.
Yeah.
This is what it takes to get, money, increase your, so all those things. This is the kind of thing. You go out, you build a movement, you lose a little bit, but then again, well, it's like you got to come back and.
I'm back.
And you're back.
I'm back.
You
You
got
know,
to come back and
I didn't think I'd be back, but I am back, and I'm back thanks to a lot of support from a lot of people in the district. And what I keep saying, you know, at least my career, but I think politics in general is a matter of ups and downs. And so I have some up moments and some down moments almost every single day. But one of the things that was an up moment just yesterday was I was at the feed store getting some farm supplies, and one of my good friends, happened to be a vet up in Voluntown, drove up to me and said, you know, my son wants to work on your campaign. His son was working out of the Norwich office for Bernie and is looking for somebody. He has a real passion about politics. He's a very young man. And if I can attract that kind of volunteer to my campaign, we will move forward, and we will move forward the agenda that Bernie has been supporting. And I think, to your point, and I know some of the people who support me, there's a lot of angst about the whole situation with Bernie. I think there's a lot of difficulties with the way some of the votes were counted. But we need to come together. We need to come together as a country. We need to unite around the values that we believe in that are on the right side of things in terms of people.
Yeah,
you know?
we can't put a bigot racist in the White House.
It would be devastating.
We can't do that. And the fact of the matter is, you know, the Democratic Party has always been a coalition.
Yes.
A struggling coalition that fight with each other and everything else. However, usually in the end, they get it together, and they go out. Everybody gets a little piece of the pie. Okay, this one here, this is historic.
Yeah.
This is absolutely historic. What Bernie has done is historic. I voted for him. I thought, you know, I'm going to go to the wall with you, and then when we hit the wall, I'm gonna vote for Hillary, obviously. Okay, whatever you. But it looks like, at least I thought today when I was looking at all the news media and everything else, the president come out for her and everything else like that. Bernie was talking about, I just got to do Washington, and then we'll put it all together. And you know, they were working on whatever they're putting together, and I'm sure they're going to come together good.
Yes.
Okay, and it's really what they want, and I know that Obama wants, is these young people, because that's the kind of people that went out for him, need to know you got to stay with it. You got to stay with it. How many years have I been fighting for second chance? Half 50 years to get second chance. They think, oh, gee whiz, you got second. No. I said, we've been fighting a long, long time for second chance, and that's, you know.
And that's something that, I mean, just the other week, I'm listening to NPR, and they're talking about the 200 prisoners that they're going to review, who went in as juveniles, that are getting an opportunity to be looked at to see if they have the possibility of having parole. you know, that's something that Father championed. I kind of came in the last part to
You
help.
kicked the door.
Yep,
You
to
took-
get
you
it, to
took
get
on
a
the
little
stuff,
over the top,
okay, and
but
get it
Yeah.
over the top. You were the voice that was there. I get tired. I get tired of you. I get tired of a lot of people. Okay, Dominic kicked the door in, cooked the door in at second chance.
Yeah.
I mean, really, and our group, our justice group, huge coalition, you know, did the job. New England wide. I mean, you know, a lot of people don't know who Bobby DeLello is. They don't know the National Campaign Against Torture. They have no idea of the, you know, the type of coalitions
Right.
that we are involved in.
Yeah.
Okay, and the stuff that's been out, not only locally, statewide, New England-wide, nationally. And I try to explain to people, I mean, everything starts local.
Absolutely.
Okay, everything starts here. Everything starts. You're aware of what's coming down. You know what Andy's work was. You know a lot of the planning and stuff like that with the waterway and stuff like that. So it's not only your mental health and social background. There's a whole nother background to you, which is the Sierra Club, which is for a good waterways, for all that stuff. I mean, that's the other side that people got to know. You're not no fool around about this if you know about that stuff and you know what needs to be done with what's going to happen here. That's a whole another side of you that has to be out there too.
Yeah, and I'm not a one-trick pony. You know,
I know
you know, it's I've lived in this area. I've lived for 40 years. I've lived on our farm in Preston. My father bought it in 50 years ago, in 1968. We've kept it as a family farm preserve for that length of time. We've had a number of different farmers manage it and do work on that. We just brought some honeybees on a couple of weeks ago. We've hosted organic farming there. We currently have 27 acres of hay that we're growing. We're doing some cordwood operations, but I'm not a farmer. But I do go out to the barn twice a day. I take care of 10 alpacas and a couple of donkeys. I know what it's like to be committed to animals. I'm not milking 300 head of cows, but I know what it's like to muck a barn, which is actually a good experience for up in Hartford, because I know how to shovel. You know what?
Right.
You know?
You got it.
So
It's like me with horses, green in, green out.
so I've got that. I feel strongly about the community that I live in and the work we do. You talk about the water taxing, what's happening down here in the Thames River Basin. That was a tremendous piece of work that Andy accomplished together with all the stakeholders in this area, with the mayors and everybody else down here. It was a tremendous regional effort. I think that we have the opportunity, and I've had some discussions, and it may be a number of years out, but that we can extend that Thames River Heritage Corridor, especially now with the Mohegan and Preston, bring it all the way up to Norwich. Create a whole corridor here from the harbor down here in New London and Groton all the way up to Norwich Harbor and benefit not only Norwich but New London and Groton and really create some synergy here that I think we have some powerful partners that we can get this done. But we need strong advocates. We need players to get this done.
Which means that you can take me up in the boat to the casino if we do this. Well, I can't believe it. We got 5 minutes. I want you to talk. I want you to talk to your people, okay? You know, they're out there, you know, when we get up all into your area and stuff like that.
And which camera is that?
Right here. There you go.
You're right.
Again, as I just said, this has to be a collective effort. We're up against an awful lot of bigoted talk this election, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety that I understand. There's a frustration here in southeastern Connecticut in particular. We saw this 2 years ago. We got, the Democrats in southeastern Connecticut, we got wiped out last time around, me included. And I saw people, and you see it now, that people are angry, they're afraid, they don't know what their future holds for them and their children, and I understand that frustration. But one of the things that I have to say that I believe strongly in, we talked about this before the show, is on social issues. I am a liberal, unapologetically. I'm a progressive on issues. When we talk about caring for each other, talking about being a community, be part of a collective of folks, of communities, that really need to work together to solve the situations we have. But on fiscal issues, I am absolutely conservative, just as Andy Maynard was. I was part of the moderate caucus up at as a state representative with the Democrats. I was very supportive of fiscal constraint. As a selectman, my 2 terms, working with 2 great selectmen, a Republican selectman, I was a minority Democrat on that. We held the taxes flat in Preston. For the entire terms that I was there. I have a lot of respect for both the first selectman and selectman Mike Cinco there in Preston, together with our Board of Finance. So I know what it's like to go line by line through a town budget and what the impacts are, on a local basis. But I also know, based on my 2 years up in Hartford, what it's like to deal with the state budget, that we have enough money. It's not that we don't have enough money in the state budget.
How it's spent.
It's how it's spent.
Yeah.
And the analogy I use is similar with energy. The first thing that you do is you conserve, okay? You take what you have and you conserve it. You don't spend what you don't have. The second part of it is the money that you do have, you spend it more efficiently, just like energy. You look for efficiency on that. And then the third thing, the third leg of all of this, is to look for a sustainable source of revenue. Something, I think we nickel and dime people too much. I think that's happening all the time. I've seen a series of that going on. We've got to stop that. We've got to really take a hard look at this and use the resources that we have well. But we also need to generate some decent paying jobs in this region. And I think we have the opportunity and are currently, EB is hiring like crazy right now.
Yeah, I know.
And I think we're going to see the same thing happening upriver, up at Preston Riverwalk.
We're right on. Sean Ronan yesterday, right? We got
Same
all
topics.
from the same mission.
Yep.
I'm the same way. People say, well, I am far left, okay, on a lot of issues, but when it comes to money, there's a better way.
Yeah.
I'd be the first to fire half the people up there, consolidate and everything else like that. You and I, we're on the same page, and that's where it is. Same. We're all about. That's why I love my Republican friends, because I understand where they're coming from. Who we got next week? God bless us.
Next week, we're doing tape shows down in Seymour. The last show that we have of the season is on the 30th, which will be Speaker Emeritus James Amon.
James, okay,
Yes.
I love James.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to thank you people for showing up, and Tim.
Thanks so much.
Tim.
Thanks so much,
We
Dominic.
know you got to
Yes.
win.
Thank you so
We
much.
want Tim to win. God bless you people out there. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Vote for Tim.
Okay.
Okay? Let's make sure that Tim gets back in.